Wax. The mystery of waxing chains. Yeah, there is this new thing that's coming out. Oh wait, it's not really that new, is it? No, not really. Because back in the turn of the century, they're using candle wax on their drivetrains to do like Tour de France back then and other various races. So waxing the chains has really not been a new thing, but it has really got itself some steam behind it with some new blends, and you got some household ones that are going on out there. You can do it yourselves, DIYs, or you can buy the pre-made, that kind of thing, which it's all fan and dandy what you've fallen into, what do you enjoy doing. But if you want to try some of it, it is a pretty good lift on the front end. But what I've experienced so far for what I've done on the chains on my bikes, as well as a few riders or good customers of mine that do a lot of riding, they've really kind of fallen in love with it. It's a lot cleaner, it doesn't collect a lot of dust, we're more in an arid climate. And again, there's gonna be a whole bunch of opinions on this, left and right and otherwise, but hey, you know what? I figured, I'd play with this myself. I've always been intrigued by drivetrain, lubrication and so forth and applications, and a lot of positives coming out of this, but the biggest takeaway from majority of these is the wear and tear is a lot less on your drivetrain. So your chain will last longer, your cassette, jockey pulleys, and chain rings. So all those are wear points. Some of them are not as expensive as others, but if you get longer life out of them, it's well worth actually doing it. If you do a lot of riding, you'll notice it's going to be super silky smooth. But something to show and share, I got a prototype. Yeah, I'll tell you about after this. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin, the guy. Obviously, I have a garage shop. Taking scary how to use bikes one bike at a time. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Oh, hello. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. I need to get myself a little bit of energy and get going on this. Oh boy. So, people that know me personally, they know I'm a cooker. I like to cook stuff. And knowing that, I don't have any problems of experimenting with ingredients and all that in the kitchen. When it comes to bikes, same kind of thing. I've always tested different products and so forth and did mixes all through the 90s and the 2000s being in the industry. So when this wax chain kind of got itself steam going, did a lot of reading and research and that kind of stuff. And, I came up with a conclusion that there's a lot of good products out there. Granted, and a lot of them have been tested. Yeah, and I wanted to I came up with an idea. I mean, it's kind of, kind of out there, but hey, cycling world is kind of out there. So what's in the tin, you may ask? Well, this is my little prototype concoction that I'm thinking about producing a small batch. The idea being in the actual tin is on purpose. And yeah, like a baker, we bake things and we need to put them away and store them. But once I get the lid off, So my take on waxing, I decided to get Pinteresty with it. In a sense that I'm using beeswax blend with paraffin wax with graphite. It's not a rocket science or any of that nature. But I got some little cute molds, and the bee is actually the graphite, and the rest of it is the combination of a split between beeswax and paraffin wax. The reason why I was thinking of beeswax has a lot of good qualities to it for lubrication and so forth. It's been around, we've been using it ever since we figured out what bees produce, honey and beeswax. And local friend of mine, she actually rides a lot, and guess what? She owns bees. So, hanging out with the guys and talking, and talking about this new wax stuff that's coming out, and boom, light bulb went off. So a year ago, I did a test blend and just a beeswax and paraffin, and it works really well. On my neighbor, which is a racer, she had it on her trainer bike. Seemed to last a good long time. Like another customer of mine that actually rode in the elements, it seemed to work pretty well. So it is comparable, I would imagine with all those. I've decided to try with a blend with the Graphite, and I'm going to be putting it on the beekeeper's bike herself. She has a nice Fuji full carbon bike here. So what my take is, the same process, right? You're going to need to clean the heck out of your chain. Check out this video I shot using another brand, and that will give you an idea the extensiveness of what you'll need to do to clean that chain. That's the biggest component, is clean, 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 and then really clean again. But once you get that chain completely clean and shiny, regardless if it's new or used, you can just need to make sure if it's used, you definitely get extra cleaning on there. But once it's completely removed of all those contaminants and so forth, any wax is going to actually do wonders on it. While I'm doing this, I did the cassette as well on all the bikes, because that's where the chain's rolling up against. And I cleaned the derailleurs and the crankset chain rings too, to kind of have a good clean slate. This is something I've added to my repertoire of services for doing tune-ups. So if you're local, I have a wax service there available, so you don't have to do all this rigmarole and still get the outcome and that kind of thing. So without further ado, what the idea is, it comes in a nice little fancy cloth wrap. You're going to basically take 3 of these guys to start off with. And I found the waxes that they come out with are just, there's a lot of material. So, and they don't say how many uses you can get out of them. So I figured if you start off with 3, and if you get enough liquid in there to cover the chain, which should be, because the depth of this is pretty deep compared to the width of a chain, so you should be able to layer. Another reason I found the tin to be very, very nice, it does accommodate for the chain to fit in there really nicely, that kind of thing, so you don't have to have a big old hot mess. And another benefit is I'm putting this in an water bath, a boiling water bath, like you would with melting chocolate, that kind of thing. And you put it in there, let that melt, then you dip the chain, you let it dry, and once it's dry, you install onto the bike. So without further ado, let's watch this melt down. Oh, they're so pretty. I don't want to do it. Oh, I got to do it. Just got to do it. What I found was you want to use kind of like, you can use a stove and a pan with like a shallow bath of water. The idea is to be able to just submerge the bottom part here with water while it's boiling, and then it just melts down inside there. And once it's completely melt, it'll turn to kind of like a black mess, and that's when it's ready to go. Unfortunately, we're going to lose the vibrant yellow, but the graphite is definitely a component that's going to help with the moving of the little parts of the chain, and the wax portion is protective, in addition to not collecting dust and keeping it dry. So let's give this a try as it starts to melt. It's beautiful. As this guy is melting, as you can see, my bees are starting to disappear. You want to layer your chain about 3 widths over, so you can actually put your spoke through, and the spoke is going to cut through those corners there, and you want to hook it. And once the wax is ready, then we can dip and massage that wax into the chain. And since I have a little hook on this end, then I can hang it above it. If you have it in your garage or what have you, you can hang it on a peg hook or something like that. So all the excess drops back into the pan. That's the idea of the pan, is it draws all back in there. And once the wax, you're done waxing, and once it's dry to install, all you need to do to store it, obviously when it's cooled down, just put the lid back on it and wait till next time you need to do it, and it's all ready to go. So that in mind kind of cuts down the mess. You're not destroying or using a pot in itself. Oh, you see that graphite just mix in, explode. So say goodbye to yellow. So you want to make this, wait till this is completely melted. And we're going to do here is try just 3. And my idea concept behind this is you do 3, you do a chain, maybe 2, and when you're ready, you add like another one of the blocks to refresh it, not necessarily refresh, but add more material. Then you can add another chain and so on and so forth. So I haven't really yet calculated how many chains I can use with 6 of these total, but what we're looking at is a very more efficient, less wasteful, environmentally friendly beeswax made in the United States, bees, all those nice little bee puns, and all the stingers are removed, but it actually will help your drivetrain go fast. So a lot of the waxes out there, obviously the black out there is a really popular product. It comes out dark. A lot of other waxes like the Secret from Silka is the same thing. So the black covering is a pretty common, and they are using a graphite, graphene, or tungsten disulfate in theirs. So your final outcome, regardless of the paraffin that they use, is going to turn black. So that is not a contaminant thing. It is actually, that's the actual coating, what it looks like. But it will not look like this on the chain. You'll see darker areas like accent, logoing and so forth. Other than that, your chain will look pretty clean. It will feel clean, and you won't get those leg chain marks. The protection of the componentry is going to last a long time, and you get a lot of benefit out of it. So yes, it's a kind of a little of a mess, and hopefully using this tin process, it will not be as much of a mess and easy to redo, as you see here. And the biggest component is not really the dipping. That's the fun kind of part of it, is actually you really do need to get that chain super clean, and the process may involve for yours a sauna cleaner. Those are really nice to have anyway. It is a financial lift though if you want to do it yourself, but that is the greatest way to clean pretty much like your chain cassettes, a lot of various parts of your bike, in addition to other things around the house, and also wedding rings and so forth come into that play. So you kind of could justify it. So we got our black mixture here. I got my little bit of a honeycomb still left. Once that guy is completely dissolved, we will now then dip and dry the chain. Once it's melted, then you just put your chain in there. And the reason why I got the long tin is I can actually manipulate it to get it really coated using that spoke. So once you get this all in there and coated and covered, you can really get that chain nice and there we go. Coated evenly, and it fits in all those little spots. And once that's coated really good, what I like to do is, since I have a hook on the spoke, I can just hang it with a peg hook right above it, and I'll draw all that excess down so it can be used at a later date. And I still have my other 3 pucks that I can refresh this when I need to add more. Looks like there's enough liquid in there to do another chain, but if it's something you want to just have a little more excess or just put them all in there, it's just a little bit easier and faster if you start off with 3. Then you can add 1 more at a time to get the reservoir as high or low as you want for coverage. I've just went to light and polite on this, so, and then all the excess here. You have 2 rules of thoughts on this. Once it dries, you can wait 24 hours to dry before installing to the actual drivetrain, or you could wait till it's a little soft and then put it on the drivetrain, run through the gears, then let it sit for 24 hours. It's one of those things that I've done it both ways, and it seems to be fine either direction. But anywho, that's something that you can determine yourself. This one I'll probably just let it sit until it's completely dry, then install it afterwards. So yeah, I made it seem easy, right? No, not even close. It is not for everybody. Let's just put it out there. It's one of those situations where it has a pretty good, nice, high quality benefit to it. If it's a situation where you have a shop locally that does this particular service, now you know what that service entails, and then you can make the decisions if you want it done to your bike or not while you're having that drivetrain clean. But that's a good time to have that drivetrain clean and actually have the wax done. You can have your service department do a drivetrain clean and leave the chain dry, which is also an option, because I've also given that option to customers because they all have their own specific lube they want to use. Sometimes they want to leave it dry so they can put on their own stuff, which is fine, because they don't have any of the cleaning, sonic cleaners, all that to do the drivetrain clean, or the expertise to do that, or time. You know, that's another thing as well. But once that chain is dry and ready to go, then we can install it with a clean cassette, with a clean derailleurs and crankset. And with that particular wax, with most all waxes out there, you're going to get somewhere between 300 to 500 miles on it. There is some wax processes that you can actually reapply a liquid form of it. That's also an option. But that's just kind of adding more materials and is not as plush as it was when it's completely done like this. Not to say you're going to be able to need to do this every week. It is not that case. Maybe not even every month. It's like every few months you may want to redo your chain. And here's also a gold nugget that they don't really say anywhere else. Get 2 chains. Why not? 2 or 3. And do that cleaning process of those 2 or 3 chains. Get them all waxed up and put 2 aside and use the one. And once that one gets kind of grody, throw on another one and cycle through them. If you have the budget to buy, and chains are not really too terribly expensive most of the time, so that way you're equally distributing that chain wear basically over 3 different chains, and every 200 or 300 miles, you know, switch that chain out and boom, you'll have a fresh chain with wax, or have that next chain for when. And if you use the quick clean type systems, that's easy. That's super easy to put on and off and go. So if you're going to do this and have chain, I would buy, you know, if your chain hasn't stretched yet on your bike, buy an extra one and do the whole process, and then you do it once, and I would say if you have 3 chains that are all waxed up, that's a good close to 1,000 miles of riding without having to redo the process again. Then again, the benefits are apparently really huge. There's research studies from the other particular brands out of the outfit down in Australia, where they test lubes and parts and all this kind of thing. And there is, you know, how rankings and so forth. And the waxes, however the waxes may vary against each other, they all blow the doors off of the regular drip-on. So, you know, that's something to think about there. But if it's not something for you, hey, no worries. As long as you're lubing your chain with something, please not WD-40. That's kind of like an industry no-no, unless it's the WD-40 bike specific lube. You know, it's one of those things that you're using a bike specific lube. It's going to actually save your chain a little bit, better shifting. You're going to have that squeaky mouse gone. Can't tell you how many times I've heard people ride bikes crossing and you hear this all the way across. So that's what eliminates that. But hopefully you've picked out some tips and tricks and bits on this. And this is, yeah, a prototype that I'm bringing to market, hopefully, and we'll see. And once it's out, check out my website. That's where it'll live. And it's going to be small batches, so, and I'm not going to price it very high. So it's something just to get out there for the people to try and see how it goes. But hey, the ones I've already did testing on for local riders that I've been putting on the bikes already, it turned out to be pretty well and very similar experiences with the other waxes out there. And mine's a little more, you know, boutique-y anyway. You have yourself a great day. Thank you for spending time with me, and check out the Guy's Bicycle Beeswax Lube. Wax Lube? Bees? Oh. Have a bee of a good time. Buzz along out there. Puns are never ending. Take care.